I caught my wife cheating and she left our son. When I filed for custody, her parents threatened me, but the judge's decision left them speechless. I, M34, have been married to Elena, F32, for 8 years. We have a 6-year-old son, Ethan. Our story began in college, where we met during a psychology class. I was immediately drawn to Elena's vibrant personality and infectious laugh. We started as study partners, but it quickly blossomed into something more. After graduation, we both landed jobs in the same city. I joined a marketing firm, while Elena pursued her passion for graphic design. We moved in together, sharing a tiny apartment that barely fit our combined belongings. Those early years were filled with late-night takeout dinners, weekend adventures exploring our new city, and dreams of building a life together. 2 years later, we tied the knot in a small, intimate ceremony. Our families were thrilled, especially my mom, who had been hinting about grandchildren since our second date. Elena and I were in no rush, though. We wanted to enjoy our time as newlyweds and establish our careers before starting a family. 3 years into our marriage, we felt ready to take the plunge into parenthood. When Elena told me she was pregnant, I was over the moon. We spent months preparing for our little one's arrival, turning our spare room into a nursery and arguing good-naturedly over baby names. When Ethan was born, it was the happiest day of my life. Elena took a year off work to stay home with Ethan. I supported her decision, picking up extra projects at work to make up for the loss of income. It was a challenging year, with sleepless nights and countless diaper changes, but seeing Ethan's first smile and hearing his first laugh made it all worthwhile. As Ethan grew older, Elena started feeling restless. She missed her work and the creative outlet it provided. We had long discussions about her returning to her job. I encouraged her, assuring her that we'd figure out childcare together. We eventually hired a nanny, a kind older woman named Martha, who quickly became like family. At first, things seemed perfect. Elena was happier having her career back, and I was glad to see her fulfilled. Ethan was thriving under Martha's care, and we still had plenty of family time in the evenings and on weekends. We'd have picnics in the park, movie nights with homemade popcorn, and Sunday morning pancake breakfasts. But slowly, I started noticing changes in Elena's behavior. She'd come home late, citing work emergencies. She'd be on her phone constantly, even during our family dinners. When I tried to talk to her about it, she'd brush it off, saying I was being paranoid. I tried to believe her, remembering how passionate she used to be about her work. As months went by, Elena became more distant. She'd skip family dinners, claiming she had to work late. On weekends, she'd make plans with her work friends instead of spending time with us. I found myself alone with Ethan more often, trying to explain to him why mommy couldn't make it to his t-ball game or why she missed his school play. I tried to be understanding, thinking maybe she was just going through a phase or struggling with the work-life balance. I suggested we take a family vacation, hoping it would help us reconnect. Elena agreed, and for a week, things felt like they used to. We built sandcastles with Ethan, went on hikes, and stayed up late talking like we did when we first started dating. I thought maybe this was the turning point we needed. But as soon as we got back home, Elena fell back into her old patterns. She was distant, distracted, and barely present even when she was physically there. I felt like I was losing her, and I didn't know how to bring her back. One day, I came home early from work to surprise Elena and Ethan. As I walked in, I heard Elena on the phone in our bedroom. She was laughing and talking in a way I hadn't heard in months. Curious, I stood outside the door and listened. What I heard shattered my world. Elena was talking to someone named Alex, and it was clear from their conversation that they were more than just friends. I confronted Elena that night after Ethan went to bed. At first, she denied everything, but when I told her what I'd overheard, she broke down. She admitted to having an affair with her coworker, Alex, for the past 6 months. I was devastated. I asked her why, and she said she felt trapped in our marriage and motherhood. She said Alex made her feel young and free again. I was hurt and angry, but I wanted to try and work things out for Ethan's sake. I suggested marriage counseling, but Elena refused. She said she wasn't in love with me anymore and wanted a divorce. I was heartbroken, but I agreed. We decided to tell Ethan together and try to make the transition as smooth as possible for him. Telling Ethan was one of the hardest things I've ever had to do. His little face crumpled in confusion and sadness as we explained that mommy and daddy wouldn't be living together anymore. We assured him that we both loved him very much and that none of this was his fault, but I could see the doubt and fear in his eyes. The divorce process was difficult, but we managed to keep things civil for Ethan's sake. We agreed on joint custody, with Ethan spending weekdays with me and weekends with Elena. I made sure to never badmouth Elena in front of Ethan, even though it hurt to see him sad and confused about why mommy and daddy didn't live together anymore. I threw myself into being the best dad I could be. I learned to cook Ethan's favorite meals, helped him with his homework, and never missed a school event. We had our own little rituals. Tuesday night was board game night, Thursday was for trying new recipes together, and Saturday mornings were for cartoons and pancakes. Things were going okay for a few months. Ethan was adjusting to the new arrangement, and Elena and I were cordial during drop-offs and pickups. But then, things took a turn for the worse. Last week, I got a call from Ethan's school. They said Elena hadn't picked him up, and they couldn't reach her. I left work immediately and rushed to get Ethan. He was upset and scared, saying mommy had promised to take him for ice cream after school. I tried calling Elena, but her phone went straight to voicemail. I took Ethan home and tried to distract him with games and his favorite dinner. All the while, I kept trying to reach Elena. Finally, around 9 p.m., I got a text from her. It said, "I can't do this anymore. Ethan is better off with you. I'm leaving town. Don't try to find me." I was shocked and furious. How could she abandon our son like this? I immediately called my lawyer and explained the situation. He advised me to file for emergency full custody, given Elena's abandonment. I felt terrible doing it, but I knew I had to protect Ethan. The next day, I filed the paperwork and was granted temporary full custody. Elena's parents called me, furious. They said I was overreacting and that Elena was just going through a hard time. They accused me of trying to keep Ethan away from her. I explained what happened, but they didn't believe me. It's been a week now, and Elena hasn't tried to contact us. Ethan keeps asking for her, and it breaks my heart to see him so confused and hurt. I'm doing my best to keep his routine normal and shower him with love and attention. I know seeking full custody is a big step, but I feel it's necessary to protect Ethan. Elena's behavior has been erratic and irresponsible. I can't risk her disappearing again and hurting Ethan even more. But part of me feels guilty, like I'm taking Ethan away from his mother. So, Reddit, AITA, for seeking full custody after my wife abandoned our son. Update 1. It's been about a month since my last post, and a lot has happened. First, I want to thank everyone for their supportive comments and advice. It really helped me navigate this difficult situation. A week after I filed for full custody, Elena suddenly reappeared. She showed up at my doorstep, crying and apologizing. She said she had gone to stay with a friend in another state because she felt overwhelmed and needed time to think. I was angry, but relieved that she was okay. Elena begged to see Ethan, but I was hesitant. I didn't want to confuse him more or risk her disappearing again. After talking with my lawyer, we agreed to supervised visits at a neutral location. The first visit was hard. Ethan was excited to see Elena, but also wary. He clung to me and kept asking if mommy was going to leave again. Elena cried and promised she wouldn't, but I could see the doubt in Ethan's eyes. It broke my heart to see my usually bubbly, confident son so unsure and scared. Over the next few weeks, we continued with supervised visits. Elena seemed to be trying hard to reconnect with Ethan. She'd bring his favorite snacks and toys and really engage with him during their time together. But I noticed she'd get frustrated when Ethan would turn to me for comfort or reassurance. During this time, I learned more about what had been going on with Elena. Apparently, her affair with Alex had ended badly. He had promised to leave his wife for her, but then backed out at the last minute. Elena said she felt used and humiliated, and it triggered a sort of breakdown. She admitted to drinking heavily and even experimenting with drugs to numb the pain. This revelation brought back memories of Elena's family history that I had almost forgotten. Her father had struggled with alcoholism when she was young, and it had caused a lot of trauma in their family. Elena had always been adamant about not falling into the same patterns, which made her recent behavior even more shocking. While I sympathized with her pain, I was angry that she'd put her own feelings above our son's well-being. I told her she needed to get help if she wanted to be part of Ethan's life. To my surprise, she agreed. She started seeing a therapist and joined a support group for parents dealing with depression and addiction. Meanwhile, the custody case was moving forward. My lawyer advised me to continue pursuing full custody, given Elena's recent behavior and mental health issues. Elena's lawyer argued that she was getting help and deserved another chance. The judge ordered a full evaluation of both of us and our home environments. The evaluation process was intense. Social workers interviewed us separately and together. They observed us with Ethan and inspected our homes. They talked to Ethan's teachers, our families, and even our neighbors. It was exhausting and felt invasive, but I knew it was necessary to ensure Ethan's best interests were protected. Throughout all of this, I've been trying to keep things as normal as possible for Ethan. We stick to our routines, and I make sure to give him extra love and attention. He's been seeing a child therapist to help him process everything, and I've noticed small improvements. He's less anxious and is starting to trust that I won't leave him. One particularly tough moment came when Ethan had a meltdown after one of Elena's visits. He was confused about why he couldn't go home with mommy and asked if it was because he had been bad. It took hours of reassurance and cuddles to calm him down. These moments make me question if I'm doing the right thing, but then I remember Elena's abandonment, and I know I have to stay strong for Ethan. Elena's parents are still giving me a hard time. They think I'm being too harsh and should give Elena another chance. They've even threatened to seek grandparents' rights if I get full custody. It's frustrating because they don't seem to understand the gravity of Elena's actions and the impact on Ethan. Their attitude reminds me of how they often enabled Elena's father's behavior when she was growing up. I worry that they might do the same with Elena, potentially putting Ethan at risk. It's a delicate situation, as I want Ethan to have a relationship with his grandparents, but I also need to protect him. As for me, I'm hanging in there. It's been tough balancing work, single parenting, and the legal battle. My boss has been understanding, allowing me to work flexible hours and sometimes from home. My parents have been a huge help, often coming over to watch Ethan when I have important meetings or court appearances. I've also found unexpected support in my neighbor, Sarah. She's a single mom herself and has been through a similar situation. She's become a good friend, offering advice, and sometimes just a sympathetic ear when I need to vent. Her daughter is a year older than Ethan, and they've become good friends, which has been great for both kids. Seeing Ethan smile or hearing his laugh makes all the struggle worth it. The other day, he drew a picture of us together, holding hands with a big sun shining above. He proudly declared it was his happy family picture. It made me tear up, realizing that despite everything, Ethan feels loved and secure with me. I know I'm doing the right thing by fighting for him, even if it's hard. The custody hearing is set for next month. I'm nervous but hopeful. My lawyer says we have a strong case, but nothing is certain in family court. All I can do is continue to be the best father I can be and hope the judge sees that Ethan is better off with me. I'll update again after the hearing. Thanks again for all your support, Reddit. It means more than you know. Update 2. Hey everyone, I'm back with another update. It's been 2 months since my last post, and the custody hearing has finally happened. I want to thank you all again for your continued support and advice. It's been a roller coaster, but I'm hanging in there. The day of the hearing was intense. Elena showed up with her parents and a new lawyer. They tried to paint me as controlling and manipulative, claiming I was using the custody battle to punish Elena for the affair. It was hard to sit there and listen to their lies, but my lawyer advised me to stay calm and let the evidence speak for itself. When it was our turn, my lawyer presented a strong case. We had documentation of Elena's abandonment, reports from the social workers and Ethan's therapist, and even testimony from Ethan's teachers about how he'd been struggling with anxiety since Elena left. The judge seemed to pay close attention to everything. One of the most powerful moments came when Martha, our former nanny, testified. She spoke about the changes she had observed in Elena's behavior in the months leading up to our separation, and how it had affected Ethan. Her testimony painted a clear picture of Elena's gradual withdrawal from our family life. The most difficult part was when they brought Ethan in to speak with the judge privately. I hated the idea of him being put in that position, but the judge insisted it was necessary. Ethan was in there for what felt like hours, but was probably only about 30 minutes. When he came out, he ran straight to me and hugged me tight. It took everything in me not to break down right there in the courtroom. After 2 long days of testimonies and arguments, the judge finally made her decision. She granted me full custody of Ethan. Elena was given supervised visitation rights, with the possibility of re-evaluation in 6 months if she could prove she was stable and committed to being in Ethan's life. I felt a mix of relief and sadness when I heard the verdict. Relief that Ethan would be safe with me, but sadness for what our family had become. Elena broke down in tears, and her parents glared at me like I was the villain in all this. The weeks following the hearing have been challenging. Elena's visitations have been inconsistent. Sometimes she shows up full of energy and enthusiasm, other times she's distant and barely engages with Ethan. It's confusing for him, and I can see the toll it's taking. Ethan's been having nightmares again. He wakes up crying, asking why mommy doesn't love him anymore. It brings back memories of my own childhood. My parents divorced when I was young, and I remember feeling that same confusion and abandonment. I'm determined to do better for Ethan to make sure he always feels loved and secure. On a positive note, Ethan's doing better in school. His teachers say he seems more focused and less anxious. He's made a couple of new friends, which I'm thrilled about. I've been trying to arrange playdates and get him involved in after-school activities to keep him busy and happy. I've also been working on creating new traditions for us. Every Friday night is now Adventure Night, where we try something new together, whether it's cooking a new recipe, trying a new board game, or exploring a new park in our area. It gives us both something to look forward to at the end of the week. Elena's parents have made good on their threat and filed for grandparents' rights. It feels like I can't catch a break. My lawyer says their case isn't strong, but it's still another battle I have to fight. I just want to focus on helping Ethan heal and move forward. As for me, I'm taking it one day at a time. Some days are harder than others. There are moments when I miss the family we used to be. But then I remember the pain Elena caused, and I know I'm doing the right thing. I've started going to a support group for single dads, which has been helpful. It's good to talk to others who understand what I'm going through. My neighbor Sarah has been a godsend through all of this. She's always willing to lend an ear or watch Ethan if I need a break. There's been a growing connection between us, but I'm hesitant to explore it. My focus right now needs to be on Ethan and our stability. I'm not sure what the future holds, but I know that as long as I have Ethan, I can face anything. He's my world, and seeing him smile or hearing him laugh makes all the struggle worth it. I'll keep fighting to give him the stable, loving home he deserves. I'll update again if anything significant happens. Thanks for listening, Reddit. Your support means everything. Update 3. Hey Reddit, it's been about 6 months since my last update, and I wanted to share some developments in our situation. First, the good news. Ethan is doing much better. He's thriving in school, has made more friends, and his nightmares have become less frequent. The child therapist says he's showing great progress in processing his emotions and building resilience. Seeing him laugh and play without that constant worry in his eyes is the best feeling in the world. We've settled into a good routine now. Mornings are busy with getting ready for school and work, but we always make time for a quick game of catch or a silly dance-off before heading out. Our Friday adventure nights have become a highlight for both of us. Last week we tried rock climbing at an indoor gym, and Ethan loved it so much that we've signed up for regular classes. Now for the more complicated stuff. Elena's visitations have become more regular over the past few months. She seems to be sticking to her therapy and has been sober for 4 months now. During her last few visits, I've noticed Ethan is more relaxed around her. He even asked if he could spend more time with her. This request brought up a lot of conflicting emotions for me. On one hand, I'm glad Ethan feels comfortable enough to want more time with Elena. On the other, I'm terrified of him getting hurt again if she relapses or disappears. I've been talking to my therapist about how to navigate this, trying to balance Ethan's desires with my need to protect him. After a lot of thought and discussions with Ethan's therapist, I agreed to gradually increase Elena's visitation time. We started with longer supervised visits, then moved to short, unsupervised visits. It's been nerve-wracking for me, but Ethan seems happier. Elena and I had a long talk last week. She apologized again for everything she put us through and said she's committed to being a better mother. She asked if we could revisit the custody arrangement. I told her I appreciate her efforts, but I'm not ready to make any major changes yet. Ethan's stability and well-being come first, and I need to see long-term consistency from her. On the legal front, Elena's parents dropped their grandparents' rights case. They finally realized it was causing more harm than good. They've been making efforts to repair their relationship with me, which I cautiously appreciate. They've even started coming to Ethan's soccer games, which he loves. As for me, I'm doing okay. The single dad support group has been a lifeline. I've made some good friends there who understand what I'm going through. One of the dads even set me up on a date recently. It was nice, but I realized I'm not quite ready for that yet. My focus is still on Ethan and healing our little family. Sarah, my neighbor, continues to be a great friend and support. We've had a few moments where it felt like things might develop into something more, but we've both agreed to take things slow. Ethan adores her and her daughter, and I'm grateful for the positive female presence in his life. Work has been challenging but rewarding. I recently got a promotion, which has helped ease some of the financial stress of single parenthood. It means longer hours sometimes, but I'm lucky to have a flexible schedule that allows me to be there for Ethan's important moments. Looking back on this journey, I can see how far we've come. There were times when I thought I couldn't handle it all, but Ethan's resilience and love kept me going. I'm proud of the stability and love I've been able to provide for him. I don't know what the future holds for us. Elena seems to be on a better path, but only time will tell if it lasts. For now, I'm cautiously optimistic. My priority remains Ethan's happiness and well-being. Whatever happens, I know we'll face it together. Thanks again for all your support, Reddit. Your advice and encouragement have been invaluable throughout this journey. I'll update again if there are any major changes. Until then, wish us luck.